Hey yarn friends, welcome back to LlamaMamaKayla's Yarn Tube. I appreciate you stopping by for a visit today. And today I wanted to show you how I made this cute little fall ghost holding the word boo. And it's a cute little fall Halloween decor. It's super easy to make, very quick. You can make this in one sitting. No problem whatsoever. You could even make this with, your kids or grandkids, or it'd be a great project for kids also. And I will tell you all about what you're going to need and the vase and different yarns and things like that in just a second. But I wanted to show you what the finished project is going to look like. So let's get started. Okay, so to make this cute ghost project today, I am using this vase that I got at Walmart for $2.94 or $2.97. It was $2.90 something or other, under $3. So this is just a glass vase. It was in their floral at Walmart. Dollar Tree has some tall vases also that are not quite as tall and might be more slender. And I would have bought one of those, but I just wanted to wait and see what other vases I had available. So I knew I was going to Walmart next, and so when I went to Walmart, I just went ahead and got this. I could have went back to Dollar Tree and got one of the smaller ones that I don't think they were quite as big around, maybe a little bit smaller, or they might have been about the same. I'm not really sure. But I just went ahead and bought this one at Walmart because it was $1. I mean, just, $2.94, $2.97. And you can also, if you don't have a vase like this and you don't want to go to Dollar Tree, you can use a jar, a large mason jar, or anything like that. You just want it to be something that kind of fits in your loom, or it doesn't have to fit in your loom, but as you're looming and your material is coming up, you want to be able to fit it into your material to see how tall to make yours to fit your jar or vase. So there's the vase that I used, and I used my 24 peg loom. I'm using a 12 peg flower loom, and then I'm using the 5 peg part of the spool loom. And you'll need your loom pick, scissors, some polyfill, and I'll just be honest with you, my polyfill is in my bedroom. We had to rearrange our house because my husband's brother just moved in with us, and I can't get to my polyfill, so I just went in the bathroom and grabbed some cotton balls, and I think I used about 3 or 4 in the first arm, and I'll use 3 or 4 in the second arm. So you'll also need white yarn. This is Red Heart Super Saver. And some orange yarn. And this is Craft Smart Orange. And then let's see what else we might need. I am going to use black felt for my eyes. And so I cut a template of eyes and a mouth. And I'm going to cut those out on here, and I'm going to use this glue that I picked up at Dollar Tree, and you may need a tapestry needle. I'm pretty sure you will. And I'm going to use these lights that I got at Dollar Tree. It's just a little battery pack, and it holds 2 AA's, and I had to buy that battery separate. And then this little wire has these lights on it. I purchased this at Dollar Tree. It was with the Halloween stuff, the Halloween decoration stuff, and also they may have them over with the candles and tea light candles and stuff like that, or they have these type of wires, and battery packs might be over in that section also. Alright, so let's just get started and get our project going. Okay, so I'm using the 24 peg loom, and I'm going to make an anchor, a slip knot to put on the anchor peg. And we're doing a drawstring cast on. And I pull my yarn in between my first and last peg, and then just weave in and out, zigzag, back and forth. And we're going to kind of move those down a little. Just keep zigzagging. Okay, till you get to the last peg, and then we're going to go behind the first peg and then lay our yarn around the loom all the way around. Or you can do this in just a few pegs at a time if going all the way around is difficult. And I'm going to take my working yarn, and I'm just going to wrap it around this peg a bunch of times just for an anchor. I'm just using that for an anchor. That yarn's not going to stay on that peg. So bring that down a little. Alright, so we see every other peg we have 2 strands. Now on this first peg we would not have any yarn except I anchored it on there. So we're just going to go around all around the loom and take the bottom strand of yarn over the top strand and over the peg. This creates a drawstring, or you can pull your yarn tail and it tightens this up. Now the yarn that I just took all the way around, it is laying there very loosely. It is not tight at all. I wasn't pulling on that. Okay, so we're back around. I'm going to push these pegs down just a little. Okay, so I'm going to take my working yarn and take it off of that peg that was just holding my yarn for me. Okay, and you see that this peg doesn't have any yarn on it. So what we're going to do is E-wrap, come around behind the peg, over in front of it, and back behind it to the next peg. Wrap around it. Okay, so this line that you're doing should be on the inside of the pegs and not on the outside. So we're just going to gently wrap around. It doesn't have to be super tight. Just gently wrap all the way around your loom. Alright, so that still only has one thing of strand of yarn on it, one loop, so we're not going to do anything with that peg. But on all the other pegs, we're going to take the bottom one and bring over. You may hear the birds in the background. You may be hearing that little squeaky noise and wondering what it is. It's the birds. Alright, so we're going to push these loops down. They don't have to go all the way to the bottom, just enough where you can wrap again. So this time we're going to wrap the first peg also. So this is the first time that peg has 2 strands of yarn on it. And we're just going to E-wrap all the way around. Alright, and so we're going to take our yarn and just yarn over. And that's the first time we yarned over on the first peg. Just yarn over. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and take my anchor peg off. You can do it now, or you can wait and do it after you do a couple rows. But on your second or third row, it's probably good enough to do. You can take your anchor peg, the slip knot off the anchor peg, and just pull it to the middle and let it just hang loose. Okay, so keep going, and I'm going to check back with you in just a few minutes and let you know how I'm doing. Okay, so as you're working on your project, if your jar or vase fits inside your loom, you can just go in it like this and just try it on for size and see how you're doing. And go ahead and tighten up your bottom end there, and then just sack it up and see how you're doing. See if you get it to the right height. Now, if your vase does not fit inside your loom, you can still do this. Just turn your loom upside down over where the pegs are facing down and pull your material up this way. And then slip your jar in and see how it's going. I'm going to loosen that up a little bit more. And then you can just let your jar slide in, and you can check and see how it's doing and how much more you need to loom knit. Now for this particular vase, I did 36 rows. Your vase may be shorter, or your jar or whatever you're using may not be as tall as mine, and you may not need to do that many rows. You may have a tall vase and need to do more rows. So what I'm going to do is I want my material, I want it to close up on the top and the bottom, just like this. And I did want it to be like stretched and not just really loose, too much material here. So I would do less rows than you think you might need. Okay, so here we go. What I'm going to do is going to do a drawstring cast off. So just wrap your yarn around your loom and then snip your yarn. So we're going to come back to peg 1 and just reach in your loop, pick up that working yarn and pull it through the top. We're just going to do that all the way around. Bring this down a little bit. And if you didn't see, yesterday I had a video similar to this. We did a pumpkin on a little jar, a round vase, and you can check out that video. And also, I'm going to have another video very similar to this coming out in the next day or so. So be looking for those. There'll be 3 videos in this same style to make some fall decor for your home, or just to give as a cute little gift, or maybe to, make this with your children or grandchildren or the neighbor child. Okay, we're almost to the beginning. Okay, so then just pop off your loops off your pegs. Oops. Now I'm going to put my vase inside. Kind of just sack it up there, and I'm going to drawstring my bottom up and then pull this up. Oops. And drawstring the top up so that it closes and make sure it fits right. Okay, then I'm going to open this back up a little bit. And I'm going to put my lights in there. I'm not going to tie off this because I don't want this to stay in there and not be able to turn it off. Plus, I may use this vase for a future project. So I'm going to take my yarn and tie that off right there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this more like a little loop here. No, I won't be able to undo it. I'm just going to leave a long tail is what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to decide which part is my front. And wherever I did the join, where it's got the widest part there, it's probably going to be my back. Anyway, so now we're going to make some arms for this. So I'm just going to push that off to the side, and we're going to get our flower loom and back to our white yarn. We're going to make 2 arms. And to do that, we're going to do the same thing as in making a slip knot and putting it on the anchor peg. Come in between your first and last peg, and we're going to weave in and out, zigzag between all your pegs. Okay, we'll come up over the last peg and then go behind this peg and wrap around, all the way around till we get right here. And make sure this yarn is on top of the zigzag yarn. So every other peg has 2 strands of yarn. I'm going to just wrap this all around that first peg just for an anchor. And then go around to every other peg that has 2 strands of yarn and bring the bottom one over, just like we did on our 24 peg loom. Okay, now this time we're not going to E-wrap. We're going to do something different. So come back and take your yarn off of that peg. Now notice that peg 1, still doesn't have anything on it. And from this peg, this was our last peg we worked on. So we're just going to pull our yarn over the first peg and onto the second peg. And I just realized that might be creating a shadow. Sorry about that. So we're going to lay our yarn over the first peg and onto the second peg. And then we're just going to gently hold that yarn just like that. And this is called a U-knit, and some people call it a U-wrap. I call it a U-knit. And then I'm not holding it tight, like I'm not pulling it or anything like that. It's loose. You don't want to do it too tight because your stitches will get really tight. So just bring the bottom loop over your yarn and over the peg. And we're going to do this all the way around. Okay, that was the first row. All right, so for the second row, that's going to be the first time that we use this first peg here. So we just, same thing, just lay your yarn over it, pick up this loop and bring it over, and continue to do this all the way around. We're working on the second row, and you want to do 25 rows in total. With the first row, second row, and then keep counting until you do 25 rows. And I will meet you back when I have 25 rows. Okay, I have 25 rows on my flower peg here, and you'll notice I have 2 stitch markers in here, so I'll tell you about that. When I do a project and it has a large number of rows, or if I might need to count the rows a number of times, I will, when I get to row 10, I'll put a stitch marker because I don't want to count those same 10 rows over and over. And then when I get 10 more rows, I'll put a stitch marker, and now I don't have to count 20 rows if I mess up and forget where I'm at. I know that's 10, 20, and then I can just go 10, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Now, I didn't get that real clear in there for you, but you can say 10, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So that way I don't have to count those same 20 rows over and over. So I have 25 rows of this unit, and I'm going to take my stitch markers off, and I'm going to do a drawstring cast off. So I cut my yarn about a round and a half, because we are going to need to sew this onto our ghost. So same thing, just reach down, grab your yarn, pull it through. And remember, this is an arm, so you need to make 2 arms. Okay, and then just pop all your stitches off of your pegs. Okay, and then you want to stretch out your stitches there. You don't have to pull like super hard or anything, you just want to stretch them out. Okay, and then we need to close up one end for the hand. Alright, I'm going to take my tapestry needle, thread it, and then I'm just going to secure this closed. And tie off. I'm going to go back through my loop before I pull it tight. And I'm going to look at that. Sometimes I feel like I need to kind of go across to close that up good. So that's what I'm going to do. And then one more time on this side. Okay, and then I'm just going to take my tapestry needle and run it inside this tube so that it runs along on the inside, and then just push it out somewhere down closer. And then snip that off, and this will just hang out on the inside. Okay, and like I said, I'm going to use cotton balls. You can use polyfill. And I didn't want to overstuff these arms. I want them not huge, fat arms. I just kind of want a little bit of stuffing, but not too much. And if you're using polyfill, also stretch out your polyfill like this so that it gets all that air up in there and fluffs up good. It's not all compact. So you can see I'm not really stuffing this too much. I'm just not letting it be flat. Okay. Let's see. That may be fine. Let me compare it with my first arm. Let's see how it compares. May need just a little bit more in the end. I don't even know if it needs a full one. Because I do want the end right here a little bit flat so that I can just sew it down real easy. So I think that is about right. Kind of look at your arms and make sure they kind of look like they would belong on the same project. Okay. All right, I think I'm happy with that. So there's my arms. All right, the next thing we're going to do is make that letter B. So we're going to get our orange yarn and our spool, our spool loom, and make an slip knot, and just put that on your peg 1. Okay, we can let this hang down in the middle. Okay, so we don't know how long to make this to make that letter B, do we? So what I do is I cut a piece of yarn kind of long. I mean, about like this. It's probably about 8 inches. And I just take this yarn and I'm going to make the letter B. I don't want it huge. You know, the letter, I don't want it huge because it's kind of fit on this project. But something about like that would probably be, good. So what I do is I just take the string, and as I'm making the project, I'll hold that up there every now and then and see if I have my I-cord to the length that I need it. So I'm just going to E-wrap cast on and E-wrap again. And then just pull, take these loops and just lift them up and over the top loop and over the peg. And I'm just going to keep on E-wrapping and bringing my loops over until my yarn reaches down here, and I can just kind of pull it down some. And as I'm working, I'll just hold this strand here and see. Also, you want to take in consideration whatever size jar you're using. If you're using a smallest jar, you wouldn't want big letters, you would want small letters. So there's no right way or wrong way to do this. Any way you do it, it's going to turn out cute. It doesn't have to be perfect to be cute. Just cut you a piece of yarn, and you might want to just hold that up to your project and just see how, what size the letter looks, what you think about it. Okay, so I'm just going to keep E-wrapping until my I-cord is the length that I want it. And then once you've got your I-cord hanging down and it's a good length, go ahead and do the drawstring cast off. And I forgot and did my cast off camera, but I did just drawstring cast off. And then just pop your pegs off your loom and pull that tight. All right, And so you're going to need 3 strands. After you make your B, then you'll know and see how it turns out. Then you'll know more about what size you want your O's. And your O can be the same size as your B. It can be smaller. There's no rules. Make your letters whatever size you want to make them. So what we're going to do is join the letters here to make boo. And like I said, you just kind of want it to, your project, you know, if you have a small jar, you're going to want small letters. Okay, so what I did with my B is I tied the ends together just like I'm going to do right here. I just took my 2 ends and I'm just going to tie that together and knot it 2 or 3 times to make it secure. This is a, you know, decor piece. It's not like it's going to be played with. Well, it might end up being played with, and if you have small children. I don't have any children in my home, so it might not be okay. And I'm going to take my short tail, just use it to kind of connect these 2 pieces a little bit better. I just went in at one spot, and I'm just going over to kind of come up in through the middle of that one, that side, and just pull that, and then I'm going to tie it again. All right, I'm going to snip my shortest tail off because I do not need it anymore. Okay, so I have my B, and I did the same thing. I just tied it like this, and then I shaped it into a B. Okay, so I don't know, sometimes it looks like more like a B, and sometimes it looks like an 8. But what I'm going to do is I am going to take 2 pieces of orange, and I'm going to tie a knot here and tie a knot here onto the back to make this look like straight, and then this curves. So what I'm going to do is get my orange. One second, let me get me a little 2 pieces of orange. One of them I do want a little bit long because I'm going to use that strand to sew to the hand. Okay, so the top one at this corner, I'm going to make it a little bit long, and this is probably too long, but you know, I just don't want it to be too short. And the one at the bottom can be shorter. So I'm going to turn my bead over. Oh, I did use a stitch marker. I haven't sewed that on yet. I used a stitch marker to place it there to make sure that is where I wanted it. And now I'm going to use my tapestry needle and kind of just sew this, joining these pieces together on the back side here. Okay, and then I'm going to make sure I get this top loop connected well also. Okay, so I'm going to take that stitch marker off. Well, okay, so just manipulate that to make it look like a B shape. It may look more like an H shape, but we're going to try to shape it on up to a B. And I feel like I need to come back up and go down on that top loop to just kind of make sure they're connected good. See if you need to sew any more. I might come right back up through here. And you go down right on the edge of that. Okay. So once you're happy with it, you feel like your sections are secure, just go through and come back through your loop to tie that off good. And you might want to just do that a couple of times to, you know, feel like it's secure. Alright, so that's good for me. And I'm just going to snip that piece of yarn. And actually, I could have used this tail as one of these pieces. Okay, so that's what I have. But I want it to be more straight here. So what I'm going to do is turn this over. This is my bottom. So I'm going to take a piece of yarn. And I'm just going to kind of come off to the side here. And I'm just going to tie a knot there. Put it down like that, and I'm going to see. Kind of manipulate it, see where you might want that. Since we didn't tie it and we just pulled it so far, we can kind of move this around to see where you might want it. I need to go down. Yeah, now I feel like I'm at the bottom. Okay, so that's pretty good. I haven't tied it yet because I'm going to tie the top part and see how that looks and get them both exactly like I want them before I actually tie the knots. Okay, the idea was to make this look like a straight piece and that to look more curved. But I feel like this might need to go up a little. Just play with it and manipulate it until you're happy with it. So I think that was pretty good for me. So on the back side, I'm just going to retie this into a knot. I'm going to tie it a couple times so it's secure. And up here, I'm going to hold off cutting it. Okay, so this one is done and this one is done. So what I need to do is take this and connect to that one. And I'm going to do that from the back side. So I'm turning my B over and my O over, and I am sewing it to the bottom right like this. And I'm just going to come through somewhere right there. And it doesn't have to be perfect, like I said before. You're just, you're just making a little Halloween decoration. I'll come back through. I'm going to see how that looks. Yeah, I like that. So back here again, I'm just going to come through. You might want to pull it there and see where you might need to connect it at a little more. So I'll come through here and just pick up a couple stitches over there. And I want to stitch it one more time right here just to connect it a little higher up on that loop. Okay. And I like that. So what I'm going to do is just go through and tie this off in there real good. Push real tight all the way down. And I might do it one more time just for security. Okay. And I'm just going to snip that tail off. Now we need to connect this O to that O and decide which is your front and which is your back. It's totally up to you. I think that might be my front right there. And it doesn't matter if your letters, you know, how they go. I'm just going to do mine kind of like right there. So I'm going to flip my B and O over and this O over. And I'm going to go through this O. I'm going to see how I'm going to get this half and that half and connect to this. I'm just going to flip it over and see how I like it. I know I need to come down and get that half down here. I'm just going to look at it and see how it looks and pull on it a little bit to see. I think I want to connect it some more right up here. Coming up a little bit, I want to connect. Okay, and I'm just going to keep checking it to see how my O looks. I think that's good. I'm good with that. I like it. I'm happy with it. So I'm just going to take my needle and come through somewhere back there again and tie off. And I might do it twice for security. Either for security or either because I'm crazy. I just want to make sure it's done. And what I'm doing is I go back through this loop before I pull it tight. Okay? And because I have so much yarn, I have such a long tail, I know I'm going to connect one hand here and I'm going to connect one hand here. So I'm just going to flip this over on the back since I have a long tail here and run it through this tube and kind of out over here. Now, if you don't have a long tail to do that with, that's okay. You can just add in a piece of yarn to the back. I would take a piece, pull it through, tie it a couple of times there, and snip off your short tail and keep your longer tail to sew to the hands. Okay. So we have our vase or jar, whatever you used, and we decide where's your back and put it to the back. We have our boo and we have our arms. Okay, we know we want to sew the boo, the B and the O to the arms. Okay, so right now we're going to work on our mouth and eyes. I don't know, maybe I should put it that direction. So let's do our mouth and eyes real quick. I have a piece of scrap felt, and I have an eye and an oval mouth. And you can, use an index card or a piece of cardstock, whatever you have. It can be a cereal box, whatever cardboard you have. Cut you out some eyes, a circle, and I'll tell you exactly what I did for this. For this vase, I tried different circles, and I finally decided that I liked the size of this. And then I traced that circle one more time for the mouth, and then I just kind of sketched up to make it more oval. And then as I was cutting it out, I just kept trimming it down till it wasn't the same diameter across. It was more oval shape. So anyway, that's what I did for my eyes and mouth. Now you look at your size jar and decide what what size your eyes and mouth need to be, or you can crochet or loom knit my eyes and mouth. I just wanted this to be a quick project, so I'm just using felt. I'll just cut that off and trim around my template. Okay, I have item on 1. I don't want to use there because I've cut into it. So just over here. Okay, I have eye number 2. I'm going to round that up a little bit more. Alright, now I need to get my mouth template. Alright. Yep, that's good. Okay, so now I'm going to let my project back and get my glue handy. And I'm going to just bring all this in and consider where I want my eyes and mouth and arms, and just kind of get a feel for how that all is going to look. Yeah. Decide if you want your eyes higher up, lower, or whatever. Whatever you like. So I'm happy with it right there. So I'm just going to take a little glue and dab it on the back of here, and you can see how just, how sloppy and haphazard I'm doing this. It doesn't have to be perfect. Whatever you do, it will be perfect. And this is the mouth, which kind of... Okay, I noticed that my video had cut off right when I glued the mouth on. So thankfully I saw that before I got too much further. But I did just glue the mouth on, and I'm happy with the placement of my eyes and mouth. And so just trying my arms on here excuse me, to see where they look. And it's a ghost, so I don't know. We don't know if ghosts have shoulders. So it doesn't really matter, where you sew your arms on. Just get somewhere that you're comfortable, that you like it. And remember that your B is going to be on this hand. And I might just use a stitch marker to put that on there to get a better idea of what this is going to look like. And same thing on this side. I'm just going to my O on there. That way we can see if we need to, what we need to change or whatever. So let's see. How well you can see that in the camera. It says boo. So I'm thinking my arms are going to come from behind. They're going to come from behind, and it may look weird from the back side, but we're only going to be looking at the front side. So, and wherever we put it for display, we're going to put it where the back side is facing front, right? Oh, I think that's going to be cute. So what I'm going to do is come to the back, and here's that tail I left for the top to open and close it to get my lights out. What I'm going to do right here is take my two tails, and I'm going to tie these together. I'm going to tie my arms together. And I'm going to leave that tail for now in case I need it. But what I'm going to do is get my arms back up where I want them. Let me turn it back around and get to the right height. I don't want to lose that. I just want to hold it there. And, you know, play with it, manipulate it, see what you need to do, see what you're happy with. Okay, so I'm going to put my arms about right there. So I'm just going to get my tapestry needle. I'm going to go ahead and lay this down, and I'm going to sew both my arms kind of together and on this at the same time. I'm going to tie that on a knot. Okay, so now I'm going to start sewing it onto this. So just go in, pick up stitches on your fabric here that you covered the jar with. And just sew this on. Remember, we're not going for, you know, we're just making a Halloween decoration. We're just going to keep sewing that on until we feel like it's secure and held well and looks good. And every now and then I'm just going to knot this for security. I'm going to come over here and pick up. There's no right or wrong way to sew this on, so just attach it any way that you can. And we'll come back over on this side. Maybe I'll get this in the middle here one more time before I go to that side. Click over here. Not click, but jump over here. And then I'm going to turn this around and see what it's looking like. See where my arms are. Okay. I'm happy with that. I'm not even going to sew it down on the bottom. I mean, well, I guess we could. Yeah. I wasn't going to because it's not going to really matter, but I'm just going to tie that in a knot, and then I'm going to sew this side down. And let's see. Just kind of knot that and tie it up a few times until you feel like it's secure, and then just snip off your tails. Okay. Now, this is the strand that I'm leaving, so I can open and close it. And I'm probably going to cut this a little bit shorter. I'm going to cut it so it comes just past the arms. Okay, and on the bottom, I am going to close that one up, because after fall, I can just open the top part and slip it off the vase and pack it away until next year. And it won't take up so much room, and I can use the vase for a different project. So I'm just pulling through here and just going to pull that tight just a couple of times to whatever you feel secure with. I'm just going to do this one last time and tie off, go through my loop before I pull it tight, and that is good for me. Alright, so now we've got to sew our B and our O on our hands. So over here I'm going to thread my needle. I'm going to look at him one more time and see what I want to do. Okay, so I know I want to sew my hand, my O and my hand together right here. So I'm just going to go through and then pick up a stitch on my hand. Can you see that? And then I'm just going to pull that. Uh-oh, not too tight. We don't want to change the shapes. I'm going to lay it down so that it'll be a little easier. And this is kind of awkward position. So let me see if I can make sure we still got you on camera here. And I'm just going to pick up a stitch there and kind of sew this on. And you can even come through the same stitch several times. Now I got it attached, so I'm going to take my stitch marker off and then just kind of look at it and see what's going on here with it. Come down a little and pick up a stitch. And just work with that until you are happy with what you got. I mean, it's your decoration. You're the one that's going to be happy with it. So I'm just trying that out. Okay, it looks like he's holding the O good. So I'm going to take my yarn and go through the back side and pull my yarn out through the back. And then I'm going to take my yarn and just kind of run it through the tube just a little ways there. And then snip that yarn, snip that tail off, and it'll just go up in that tube. Okay, and the same thing over here. I have my tail where I tied that. So I'm just going to thread my orange yarn and then just stitch it somewhere up on the hand part, not on the tip, but I'm doing it more up on the hand, kind of like he's holding it in his hand. And this is very awkward to do this and try to make sure it's on the camera, so I'm doing the best that I can. I'm going to take my stitch marker off and then test it and see where I need to stitch it up at. And I think I'm going to come to the corner of my straight part of my bee. Alright, and I'm just going to pull this to the back, and I have my other strand there, and I'm going to real quick just tie those to secure it. Let's snip that, and there we go. Look at there at our ghost holding Boo. So I think this turned out really cute. It's great for a little Halloween decor, and like I said, I made a video about a pumpkin, so you can have the pumpkin next to this. And also, I have another one coming up very, very soon. Be watching for that the next day or so. So that'll be 3 fall decorations in the same kind of theme, you know, the same design type, that you could set all 3 together for a little Halloween or fall display. So, thank you for watching. I appreciate you so much for watching. Please feel free to share this video in other LoomKnit groups or with other people who you think would appreciate a LoomKnit video. And I will see you all again very soon. Thank you, guys.